All right.
All right, so what do you want to know?
What is the history of Seattle?
I'm not from here, so that's a really bad question for me. I don't know.
I know this city's named after Chief Seattle.
His daughter was Angeline, I believe.
There were the Salish people here, and it was beautiful with big cedars and salmon berries.
Seattle is a city that started in the mid-1800s.
It was started by a dude named Denny and his cohort Yesler.
I think they landed at what's like West Seattle now.
I think it was Alki was the first location, and then there were some other islands.
Seattle initially was named by these same folks, I believe, Alki, New York Alki, which was using the Native American terminology for Alki meant by and by, New York by and by, which means eventually they wanted this port to turn into a bustling New York City type of area.
Based on timber industry and probably fishing.
Lumber, lots of lumber.
A point for explorers for gold rush heading up to Alaska.
Lots of folks going up to the Klondike.
I know there was a fire in the late 19th century, which really changed Pioneer Square.
We lost most of the city at one point, and then it had to be rebuilt.
But there were a lot of problems with water levels. And they had to raise the city at some point.
The whole city was kind of like built up.
And they gradually moved residents up to the hills. That's sort of my understanding, like First Hill, Queen Anne, Capitol Hill.
For me, the modern history of Seattle begins with the World's Fair.
And the creation of the Space Needle, that was significant.
The boom after the wars, and then there was the Boeing boom and bust.
Sign on the road that said, last person to leave Seattle, turn the lights off.
In the 70s, there were still bars with like drunken sailors, and people would get in fights, or someone would walk into the bar and buy the entire bar a round of drinks.
And then they opened the Lusty Lady.
It was Jet City, and then it was rebranded the Emerald City.
Famous Seattle institutions?
Yeah.
Well, you've got, we're right next to one of them, Seattle Art Museum.
The Burke, the Henry, the Fry, EMP.
Boeing, Weyerhaeuser, Microsoft.
Amazon, Starbucks.
Well, we're heading right towards Pike Place Market.
Bill Gates, Paul Allen.
Sounders, might get the Sonics back.
Bruce Lee.
Hipsters.
Norm Rice was kind of fun, too.
Seattle is known for a seafair every summer.
The hydroplane that flipped over, I don't remember what it's called, slow-mo or whatever. The Seattle Aqua Theater, and Led Zeppelin performed there, and a bunch of other used to have like ballet dancing and water, water ballet.
I just think of music, man.
In the 60s we had a lot of famous bands, the Sonics.
Jimi Hendrix.
Soundgarden and Pearl Jam.
I'd say Kenny G.
Nirvana.
I don't want to say grunge, but I have to say grunge. Grunge musicians that we know from here. But I also think of music history here as being kind of, like early jazz music here, that this was a spot apparently on a tour that people would go around the country and play music here. Well, I think maybe one of the most memorable things for me was after Kurt Cobain died and there was the big gathering at the fountain at Seattle Center.
I sort of remember the earthquake that we had that was pretty big last time around.
WTO.
Yeah, the WTO riots. Like, that's not a cultural event, but it was a moment in history.
What is history?
What is history? History is what you yourself remember or somebody else has written down for you.
History in the Greek is research.
I would say history is just the accumulation of stories and events that have happened and how people retell them.
It's about understanding the world around you, starting with the past.
That's awesome. Thank you, man.
All right.
Thank you.